Today, we are hosting an amazing devotee known as an extraordinary force of change, who is a very dear disciple of Srila Prabhupada. On behalf of Bhaktivedanta Academy ISKCON Noida, I heartily welcome Her Grace Rukmini Mataji. Do you know how old Rukmini Mataji was when she met Srila Prabhupada? She was just 16 years old. Rukmini Mataji was initiated by Srila Prabhupada in 1968 in Montreal. When she got initiated, Srila Prabhupada gave her a beautiful blessing. You are a beautiful girl, now become more beautiful within also. One day, in 26th 2nd Avenue in New York, Prabhupada was in his quarters. His disciples were sitting in front of him. Srila Prabhupada looked at every single devotee directly and said, I want each one of you to open a temple somewhere. Rukmini Mataji was a 16-year-old girl and she had some self-doubts. She asked Prabhupada, even the girls, Swamiji? Prabhupada said, yes, there is no difference between girls and boys when you are preaching Krishna consciousness. This statement empowered Rukmini Mataji to contribute to ISKCON in so many numerous ways. Rukmini Mataji would personally cook for Srila Prabhupada. She would make besan laddus for Prabhupada and send them to him via post after every 14 days. She would send a letter to Prabhupada along with the laddus. Every time, Prabhupada would write back to Rukmini Mataji, thanking her for her service. Once, Rukmini Mataji had become very thin. Prabhupada was concerned when he saw her. Prabhupada chastised her husband and said, I have given you my daughter. You have not taken care of her. In this way, Rukmini Mataji became so dear to Srila Prabhupada that Prabhupada would care for her like her loving grandfather. Rukmini Mataji has served in a wide variety of leadership roles, including temple president, preacher, counselor, and mentor to hundreds of devotees. She is also founding board member of the Bhakti Center in New York City and the Vaishnavi Ministry, which promotes spiritual empowerment and support for devotee women. Mataji also runs a business called Kindred Spirits, and she donates the earnings from that business to ISKCON Communications. She is the mother of the famous Kirtaniya, Gauravani Prabhu. Over the decades, Rukmini Mataji has been known not only for her philosophical depth, but also for her gentle heart, humility, and sincere service attitude, truly embodying the qualities of a Vaishnavi. We are really grateful to Rukmini Mataji for giving us her glorious association in today's energy class on the topic excusitis. Thank you so much, Mataji. We really appreciate how punctual you are. It is a lesson for all of us. Over to you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for inviting me to be with you all. I'm very grateful to be here with you, and I hope I can try to share something that will be helpful. Let me chant some prayers of invocation for blessings. Turn on this little mini tambura here. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Jaksim Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Desha Tarini Vanchakapatarobhyascha kripasindhubhaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So again, thank you all so much for being here. I have never heard of excusitis before, and I think it sounds like a type of cheating, yeah, like a type of deception, taking Krishna's love for granted. Like we might be thinking, yes, yes, Krishna, I know that you love me, but I think I know a better way. So, yeah, Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, Icha dvesha samutena dvanda mohena bharata, sarva bhutani samoham sarge yanti parantapa. O sign of Bharata, Krishna says to Arjuna, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by the dualities arisen from desire and hate. So, yeah, isn't this a type of a duality? Krishna is calling us, and we think we have a better idea. So we come into this world thinking we know better, and we're immediately thrown into this world of duality, love and hate, friend and enemy, pleasure and pain, heat and cold, fame and infamy. So I was thinking about this topic, excusitis, and it seems to me that when we come into this material world, Krishna is actually allowing us to make excuses, not loving him, not engaging in loving service with the majority of his faithful living entities, right? The three quarters of all the living entities in the creation are engaging in loving service to Krishna. And then, but instead we've chosen to live in this tiny little small cloud, this 1/4 creation of the external world, the material world. And again, the child in the womb is praying, promising, yes, Krishna, last time I forgot you, but this time it's going to be different. I promise, I promise. And then after birth, we have these adoring parents. The baby is the center of affection. Everyone is adoring the baby. And once again, I forgot you, my Lord. I made excuses last time, and now again in this life, I make more excuses. And it makes me think how a loving parent actually allows space for a child to make excuses to some extent. Like, have you ever had the experience that a child is playing sick? I don't want to go to school. Okay, the mother says, you can stay home, but there'll be more work at school to catch up on when you go back. So, yeah, Krishna gives us that space, like a loving parent gives space for the child to make excuses and then maybe come back around by our own free will. So it also reminds me of a GPS, right? You have a GPS in your car. We get lost and we waste so much time. It finds us, it corrects our course, and it reverts us back on track. But still, so much time has been wasted, right? If we're serious about getting there, if we're serious about the goal of life, we should be cautious about this excuse-itis, which I've never heard of before until today. So, have you heard the English word dally, like dilly-dally, wasting time, not taking things seriously? What's the Hindi, is there a Hindi word for something like that? Dilly-dally, wasting time, hanging around. You have a Hindi word for that? Nothing comes to mind. Just wasting time. Okay, but you know what I mean by this word dally, right? Wasting time, dilly-dallying. Where we dally in disobedience on the earthly planets, and then we dally in enjoyments on the heavenly planets, and then maybe we dally in extreme suffering on the hellish planets. Why do we do that? Why would you say we do that? Um, Anyone want to offer a suggestion? Why are we dilly-dallying around in these material planets? Krishna Priya,
Hare
what do
Krishna
you think?
Mataji.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Sri Ram. Mataji, maybe because we have been practicing this for so many lifetimes, so that we have this attitude of wasting our time because we have been practicing this forgetting Krishna. So maybe because of that casual attitude that we are carrying for so many lifetimes, we have been practicing and continuing this again in this lifetime.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Instead of practicing sadhana bhakti, we've been practicing making excuses. So I see that Snigdha Madhavi has her hand up. What do you think?
Hare
Why
Krishna,
do we?
please
Hare
ask.
Krishna.
Please, Aziz.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, like as we've also heard in some Vaishnava songs, like by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, this um, desire to enjoy the material world goes away. I mean, of course, sadhana bhakti is required for that, but I think this material desire is very strongly rooted in the heart.
Yeah, it's true. And as you're wisely pointing out, Lord Nityananda is Harinama Pradam Devam. He's the giver of the holy name. So if we can wake up to a more awakened consciousness, we can begin to desire more ardently, you know? So yeah, so we've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten our original loving relationship with our dearest friend, Lord Shri Krishna. We've forgotten our eternal home, and we've forgotten our joyful life there. It's like a spiritual amnesia. Have you ever heard of the biblical story called the prodigal son? I don't know if you all are familiar with that. It's a narrative about there's a wealthy father and his son just wanders out and forgets that he has a loving father at home. He forgets. He's wandering around in the world and he doesn't realize that he has a loving home, a loving father. But the father never forgets the child. So that's kind of our situation. We have like a spiritual amnesia and we're wandering around thinking this is our home, thinking that we should try and try and try to be happy. One teacher says in a very wise way that we all come into this material world with a God-sized hole in our hearts. Isn't that interesting? We have a God-sized hole in our hearts, and we keep trying to fill it up with so many addictions or attachments or, whatever, our particular modes of nature are. Shopping, or maybe it's liquor, or maybe it's an eating addiction, or a food addiction, a clothes addiction, or things that are worse. So, yeah, we keep trying to fill up that hole, but that hole can only be filled by our Supreme Beloved, that Supreme Most loving friend, our super friend, our eternal loving friend. So, bhakti, the process of bhakti is actually defined as a loving responsiveness. Um, Isn't that beautiful? It's a loving responsiveness to Krishna's call. But we make excuses because we're failing to respond to Krishna, all of Krishna's love calls. He's calling us, but we keep not returning the call. What if you have a friend and they keep calling you, calling you, calling you, but you never return the call? After a while, they just get sick of it. But Krishna never gets sick of it. He is always there, always our loving friend. And in the Brahma Samhita, it says that Krishna is ever inviting the fallen conditioned souls to associate with him in pastimes of love. But we keep making excuses and we keep refusing his loving invitation? What if you have a friend, they call, then they send you an invitation to their son's wedding, their daughter's wedding, they're this, they're that, they're having a big anniversary. You don't even respond. After a while, they just feel like this person is not responding to my love, but Krishna keeps trying and trying again. So yeah, we're dallying, we're wasting time. Srila Prabhupada calls this loitering in this material world. I don't know if you have this in India, but in the US, they have certain shops, like a little quick stop type shops, and they'll have a sign outside that says no loitering, because they'll sometimes have gangs of boys hanging out there. Maybe they're smoking or drinking or just hanging out, right? So no loitering. But we are loitering actually in this material world. And it also means that we're not really convinced that this is not our place. We're just hanging around. And we're not really convinced that there's nothing for me of any value here. I can work for a whole lifetime building my prestige, my empire, my legacy, but everything will just melt before my eyes at the time of death or even before, right? We all know so many stories. So Srila Prabhupada gave an interesting definition of humility. And see what you think of this and how it relates to this topic of excuses. He says, humility means that you are convinced beyond any doubt that there is nothing in this world, absolutely nothing in this world, not your money, not your family, not your fame, not your gun, not your education. Nothing will save you except the mercy of Krishna. When we are convinced like this, then we are humble. Isn't that beautiful? Srila Prabhupada's amazing definition of humility. So yeah, dallying around, loitering around, making excuses, it's a type of a childish foolishness. In Bhaktivinoda Thakur has a long prose poem called The Jiva Soul. And in one verse, he kind of begs us, he implores us, he says, why then this childish play in that which cannot be our own, which falls within 100 years as if a rose ablown? And then a few verses later, he says, enjoyment and sorrow. He says, these are just lots to which our flesh or our body is heir. And then he says something, a really beautiful metaphor. He says, the soul that sleeps alone concludes, in them it hath a share. What do you think of that image? The soul that sleeps alone. Isn't that amazing? I mean, we as Jiva souls, we're supposed to be in a loving relationship with Krishna in some beautiful rasa, but no, we're just sleeping alone, Yeah, did you get those verses? Did you follow that? Okay. Hope I wasn't reading it too fast. Okay, so then here's another interesting story. Once Srila Prabhupada was visiting Sydney, Australia, and he was on a morning walk, and he pointed out into the distance where the downtown Sydney was, all the tall skyscraper buildings of the downtown. And he pointed to that and he said, adults playground. And then he pointed to right in front of them, there was a little nearby children's playground. So he pointed to the downtown skyscrapers. He said adult playground. And then he pointed children's playground. So yeah, this is what we're loitering in these children's or adults' playgrounds. So I wanted to ask you all a question. What's the difference between childish and childlike? Anybody want to unpack that for us all? What's the difference between being childish and being childlike? Sandeep.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Pradam, kindly accept my own sense. Mataji, like childish, what I can think of is more like a behavior where we are not behaving as adult but more like a child, as a normal, a kid how it behaves, right? That is a childish behavior, more or less. Childlike, what I can think of is like where we are a child in a way, and something our growth is according to that age group. So that is something which I can think of, Mataji.
Okay, let me ask Snigdha Madhavi. What do you think? What's the difference between childish and childlike?
Mataji, childish is a disapproving term, whereas childlike is an approving term. Childish is immature, and childlike, as in childlike simplicity, which is desirable for a Vaishnava.
Yeah, beautiful. Childlike simplicity. Like if you read the chapters of Krishna book, you see that the residents of Vrindavan are very childlike. They're always overwhelmed by a sense of wonderful Krishna. I see that Krishna Priya, you also had your hand up. Do you want to share something? What's the difference between childlike and childish?
Yeah, Mataji, I agree with Snigdha Mataji that childish is like an immature behavior where we don't find the right things and right way to act, and whereas the childlike is the playfulness, it's the joyfulness of a child, which naturally accepts everything in the right way, like it's being
Yeah,
itself.
yeah, like a simplicity. Like I think you see that in saintly people. And you certainly see it in the residents of Vrindavan. Every time Krishna does something wonderful, they have this sense of wonder, wonderful Krishna, a sense of awe. In Sanskrit, it's called chamatkar. It's like a wonder. And that's a very childlike simplicity, as you're all saying. Whereas childish, it's like a selfishness. I see that Bhai Govind has his hand up. What do you think, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. So, childlike means having the qualities of a child, such as innocence, purity, wonder, or humility. And childish means acting in a way like immature, silly, or irresponsible, like a badly behaved child.
Yeah. Yeah, like a 2-year-old, it's all about me, right? You take away the toy and they start screaming, throwing a tantrum. Yeah, so I think you're all, hitting it on the head. So these are excuses, right? When I want to be selfish, that it's all about me. I don't really care what Krishna has in store for me. I only care about now. I only care about me. I only care about my toys. I don't want to share my toys. This is childish. Whereas childlike is a very different, very beautiful thing. So, this idea of making excuses, it also reminds me. So, we're talking about children right now, right? But now, what about old age? It reminds me of Dhritarashtra. He kept not getting it. He kept not understanding time and time again. He's hearing Bhagavad Gita from Sanjaya, but unlike Arjuna, they're both hearing the Gita, right? But unlike Arjuna, he's not really hearing. He's not really getting it. And he's fixed in his attachment to his sons, his personal plots for sustaining his empire, thinking his sons are going to save him, his dynasty is going to save him, his legacy is going to save him. He's thinking all of that would save him. Until finally, after the Battle of Kurukshetra, after all his sons had been killed for their completely nefarious dealings, trying to kill the Pandavas over so many years, again and again and again, in so many ways. Finally, his very dear, compassionate brother Vidura came back. Vidura had gone on pilgrimage. He didn't want any part of that crazy war, right? And he went on pilgrimage, but then out of compassion, he came back. And he comes back to give some straight talk, some tough love, as they call it, to his brother Dhritarashtra, even though Dhritarashtra really didn't deserve that kind of compassion. Vidura didn't care, he didn't care who deserves, who doesn't deserve, right? And so he gave him, yeah, straight talk. He's telling him, look at you. You're living like a kept dog, eating the scraps from the table of Bhima who killed your sons. Where is your self-respect? Enough excuses, excuses, excuses. Get out now and save what's left of your shameful, foolish life. Right? Wow. And then finally, at the fag end of his life, Prabhupada uses this term, the fag end of life. None of us should wait until the fag end of life. But by the mercy of Vidura, he finally heard and he finally got out. He left home along with Gandhari and they went to the forest. And this is all due to the selfless compassion of the great Vidura. So I have to ask myself, what excuses am I making today? Maybe I'm not a 2-year-old. Maybe I'm not as old as Dhritarashtra. Maybe I'm somewhere in the middle. But what excuses am I making today? Or what excuses are you making today? Maybe we're thinking, oh, this Krishna consciousness is just too hard. It's impossible for me. Why? It's impossible for me because I have kids, or maybe because my husband doesn't support me in my spiritual life, or maybe because my wife doesn't support me. She's always nagging me. Or maybe the temple authorities around here, they just don't support me. And I really deserve more respect around here for everything I do. I deserve more respect. I deserve. This is all kinds of excuses. And sometimes we might even think, even Krishna himself doesn't support me. I chant his name for the last 3 years or 30 years, maybe, and still he doesn't appear before me. Why does Krishna make it so hard? So Srila Prabhupada said something very interesting about this. I think is very interesting. He said, listen to this, everyone. Prabhupada said that we wake up in the morning thinking, I have so many problems. But Prabhupada said, but the only real problem is, how can I accept Krishna? Isn't that interesting? That's our only real problem to ask ourselves. How can I today in my life, better than I did yesterday, how can I accept Krishna? So, I was thinking we might be, maybe when we're chanting, we're praying to Krishna, praying to the holy name, please accept me, please accept me. But how much have I accepted Krishna? Do you ever think about that? How much have I actually accepted Krishna? Have I made so many excuses to not accept Krishna or to not accept his wisdom in Bhagavad Gita? Krishna is so kindly accepting any sincere attempt, all of our baby steps, and he expresses his broad compassion in so many places. I was thinking Bhagavad Gita, 12th chapter, right? Krishna gives so many options. He says, just fix your mind on me, engage your intelligence in me, and then you will live in me without a doubt. Okay, you can't do that? Then, okay, then practice the regulative principles of bhakti yoga and try to develop a desire to attain to me. Okay, you can't do that? Then work for me. Try to work for me. Oh, you can't do that? And then try to act, giving up all selfish results. Try to be self-situated, not selfish. And if you can't do that, then try to cultivate knowledge. And then Krishna says, but meditation is better than knowledge, or better than that is to renounce the fruits of action. And in that way, you can attain a little bit of peace of mind. Because these excuses keep us in a place of no peace of mind. Excuse, 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 and there's no peace of mind in that place. So we need to be keenly aware that my time in this world is swiftly passing, that the current swiftly passing in the swift currents of time. I don't know how much time I have left in this body to try to improve myself, to try to improve my sadhana, my attempts to come closer to Krishna in this life. So sometimes we hear that Maharaj Parikshit knew that he only had 7 days left, right? But in one sense, I also have only 7 days. I'm going to leave this world on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, one of those 7 days, right? I'm also going to leave this world. So, in one sense, I also only have 7 days. And still, I'm making excuses. I'm sleepwalking through these final days and moments of my life. Why am I doing that? And what do you think would be an antidote to living a life like strangled and encumbered by excuses? What do you think? Does anybody have any solutions you want to throw out here? What would be an antidote? Any of you doctors or pharmacists? Someone comes and says, I need an antidote to this disease. What is an antidote?
Is it,
Oh, again, very enthusiastic.
Mataji, is it getting kicked by Maya? And when we get frustrated enough,
It helps, right? We don't like it, right? We don't like suffering, but in fact, suffering, maybe that's Krishna's reason for suffering in this world. We don't like suffering, but when we suffer, it does become a catalyst for change, wouldn't you say? Yeah. So I see Akshi. What do you say, Akshi? Do you have a thought on this question?
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. I think it would be the correct association. People, because we are so much surrounded by materialistic people who are so, motivated by sense gratification these days. So I think getting a correct association, like it says sadhu sangha, love matrein sadhu sangha. So even a minute's association is going to change the life altogether, I think.
Right. That's very wise. Of course, sometimes we can't run away from our family members or our kids, right? But yeah, try to by hearing or by somehow associating with some awakened association. What do you think, Krishna Priya?
Yeah, Mataji, it may be like a person who is suffering with jaundice doesn't feel like tasting anything sweeter. But still, if he continues to taste and continue to have some sweet things, he'll suddenly feel like, and slowly and gradually, he develops the taste. Same as the Harinam, very easy medicine and very, very calm. We can have that in our lives. And slowly we'll get to have taste in Harinam and then can proceed on our Bhakti Path.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yes, you hit the nail on the head. We have a jaundice situation, right? And so sweetness tastes bitter to us, but gradually, the holy name, if we apply ourselves, right, if we do it in a conscious way. So yeah, I was thinking that too. What about praying to please Krishna, let me awaken to the holy name. Pray to Nama Prabhu in a mood of ardent prayer, not sleepwalking, but ardent prayer, the way that our acharyas give us examples of that, like that beautiful song, When Oh When Will That Day Be Mine, right? Longing for that taste, longing for that opportunity to chant with an awakened heart. And if I can awaken to the reality of actually, I'm in a treacherous situation. I think I've got plenty of time, you know, I'm taking my time dilly-dallying around, loitering around, but actually I'm in a treacherous situation because I don't know how much time I have to help progress on the path of chanting sincerely in this temporary body. It's so temporary, right? This is Albert Einstein said something about how the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing again and again and again and expecting a different result. So we keep doing the same sleepwalking, making excuses and expecting a different result. So if we can awaken to the reality of this awakened holy name, awaken. Lord Chaitanya says something very beautiful in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He says that without love of Godhead, my life is impoverished. He says, here it is in the Bengali, Prema Dhana Vina Vyarta Daridra Jivan. Dasa kori betanamore deha premadan. Without love of Godhead, my life is useless. Therefore, I pray, my Lord, that you accept me as your servant and give me a salary of ecstatic love of Godhead. So this is when our hearts are ardently praying, and Krishna will respond to that kind of prayer, right? Instead of we call his name, but then we're absent, right? Our mind is absent. We're thinking of something else. We're checking our phone. We're checking our email. We're doing this or that. No, take your phone and lock it in the other room when you're chanting your japa. Don't have your phone or your computer next to you, and try to chant in this ardent way. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur also has some very beautiful advice for us in the Harinam Chintamani. He says, Dasa aparadha yena hridaya napase kripa kora Mahaprabhu maji namarase. He says, "O Mahaprabhu, please be merciful to me so that the 10 offenses never touch my heart, and I can always remain absorbed in the rasa of the holy name." So, if we can chant the holy name in this kind of mood, instead of with an absent mind, being only minimally present, but no, completely present in an ardent way, then the holy name will begin to shine in our hearts. And when Lord Chaitanya is pleased with us, he will ask Bhakti Devi to descend into our hearts and bestow her blessings upon us. So Bhakti Yoga is described as a path of grace. We endeavor to seek their grace, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Bhakti Devi, Srimati Radharani, Srila Prabhupada, all our gurus, and we were begging for their grace to descend upon us, to bless us. And another point I want to make that I think is really important is that we're all sacred individuals. And Rupa Goswami explains 9 different processes of devotional service. And then in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he unpacks it and details it even more as 64 processes of devotional service. So the point I want to make is find the ones that inspire you. Everyone is different. Everyone is a different individual. We don't all fit in the same box. Find what inspires your heart and pour your heart into those practices of Krishna consciousness, whatever you choose. Like this, to me, these are ways to give up making excuses. Find something that inspires you personally. It's not going to be the same as somebody else, but make it your own and make it inspiring. Pour your heart into your devotional service. After completing your vows to your spiritual master, choose whatever inspires you in devotional service and pour your heart into those things. I think we need to ignite our hearts to catch fire, to become like molten lava, and not to remain frozen for an entire lifetime, making excuses while our hearts remain cold, like hard calcified stone. Do you want your heart to be like cold, hard, frozen, calcified stone? I don't. What do you think? I would like my heart to catch on fire, to be like molten lava, so that I can pour my heart into the liquid mellows of rasa of the holy name. That's what I would like. So, yeah, believe it or not, Hiranyakashipu said something very wise in the 7th canto. He said, association is like a crystal stone. What does that mean? It means that whatever you put in front of it, it reflects back. So if you're hanging out with the wrong kind of people, then you're going to just reflect those mentalities. And, we can't escape our family members, right? But we can try to inspire them in whatever ways we can. And if they're engaged in nonsense prajalpa, you can always say, oops, I have an appointment, or I have to go to the bathroom, and get yourself out of there and find something better to do. So you don't want to be a snob, to your family members, but you can avoid that kind of useless interaction. Or guess what? You can go in the other room and get your copy of Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam and do it in a very sweet way, not in a way that they feel like you're coming down like a ton of bricks, but say, because when you taste something sweet, you want to share it, right? It's just natural human psychology. So you can go in the other room and find something that inspired you in one of the books and say, listen to this, everybody. This is so beautiful that Krishna's smile melts the ocean of tears that is this material world. Find something sweet. And you can always be looking out for something sweet to share with your wife or husband or kids or somebody at your office or your mother-in-law. Yeah, so these are things to share because we become like, right? Whatever, whoever, wherever we spend our time. So find those inspiring items that inspire you in person, online, associate with them, hear from them, serve them, befriend them. And their association can help melt away all of our excuses. And again, we don't want to be snobs because three types of association are very important. It's important to have mentors who inspire us. It's important to have people who are friends who we can share with. And it's important to reach out to people who are innocent or newer on the path. So all three types of association are very, very important. And sometimes we might fall off and neglect one of those because you can feel so much of Krishna's mercy. If you see someone sitting alone at the temple looking a bit depressed, and you go over to that person and say, hey, what's on your heart? Or I want to share. Here's a tulsi leaf. Here's a flower that was on Radharani's feet. Or here's a beautiful verse that I read. Krishna is so pleased when we share the sweetness that we're tasting or we're trying to taste. So those three types of association are very, very important. And we shouldn't make excuses to not be nourishing ourselves with those three kinds of association. So these are some thoughts on melting away some of the excuses we make in our lives. Thank you all very much. And I wonder if you have any reflections or any questions. What do you think? Is this Krishna consciousness possible or is it impossible? Is it an excuse to say it's impossible? What do you think?
Thank you so much, Mataji, for this super motivating energy class.
Thank you.
Mataji, the devotees might have some questions. If you allow, can we please unmute each student one by one so that they can ask some questions?
Sure. I see there's a couple of things in the chat also. There's one question in the chat. Should we take that first? Bhakti is a path of grace where we request the grace to descend upon us. What if someone realizes he's been such a bad person all his life, done so many wrong things? Will I still be eligible to receive grace? That's a very beautiful, heartfelt question. I think it's also a prayer, when we read these prayers of our acharyas, Narottam Das Thakur says, Lord Nityananda, you are famous for giving the holy name to the most fallen, but you should see that I'm the most fallen and you should save me first. So they're sincerely feeling like this. So if you're feeling very unqualified that you've done so many bad things in your life, I think it's a type of an excuse to just sit back and blame myself, beat myself up over it, rather than reaching out in an ardent way with the holy name. So cry it. What you just said is a prayer. It's a prayer. Cry that out to the holy name, my dear Nama Prabhu. I have made so many mistakes in my life. I've neglected, made excuses, lost so many opportunities to love you and serve you. Please help me. Please help me take the next step. And the Holy Name will respond to that kind of sincere prayer. So I feel like, yeah, we can't, Krishna is, he will detect our cheating, deceptive mentality. But if we're sincere, just try to be a little bit sincere, simple and sincere, and then Krishna will reciprocate. What do you think? Any realizations on this, or reflections, or questions, or yeah, simple and sincere, some of you pointed out earlier. How important is that? Did I ever tell you the story of when Prabhupada kept talking about we should try to become sincere, try to become sincere, try to become sincere? And I asked him, but Srila Prabhupada, how do we become sincere? And he just looked at me very intensely and he said, you're going to laugh. He said, how do you become a thief? And I was so shocked. I said, well, you would practice stealing and you would associate with thieves and you would learn to talk like they talk and you would learn to hang out in the places where they hang out and learn their language and learn their techniques. And Prabhupada was laughing. He said, yes, so you must practice. Practice being sincere and you will become sincere. So I think that's a very beautiful instruction, Even if you feel like you're a rascal number one, I know in India rascal's a really bad word, right? In America it's kind of a cute word. But in India I think at least it used to be really a bad word. So even if you feel like you're really a bad person, you can cry to Krishna, please help me become sincere. Melt my stone heart. I don't want to come to you with a stone heart frozen like cold stone. Please help me come to you. What else? Any questions, any reflections? You're all wise Bhakti Shastri students. What do you think of all this? More in the chat here. Let's see. Dear Mataji, when going through extreme distress, such as loss of a loved one or spouse, it affects one's mentality. How can one get out of such traumas? Are there any devotees who conduct some workshops or sessions to help devotees break through different kinds of trauma? Yes, very, very important question, because these traumas are not to be minimized. They're very, very heartbreaking and they should be addressed. There's a wonderful group within the ISKCON Society called Karuna Care. You can go to their website, karunacare.iskcon.org, and they have sessions teaching how to deal with grief, with loss, with trauma, with addictions. Maybe you're trying to do Krishna consciousness, but maybe someone in your family is suffering from addictions or trauma, or maybe you've lost someone very dear to you. So, yeah, Karuna Care, as a matter of fact, I was also leading a grief support group. It's very, very important that we express grief, talk about it, journal about it, meet with a group of people who are going through something similar, and get help walking through that wilderness of grief. So, this Karuna Care is a very, very important initiative within ISKCON. Rambaru Devi Dasi is in Australia now, but you can contact them through karunacare.iskcon.org for grief support groups. It's very beautiful. Peer counseling groups, grief support, trauma, addiction. They have a wonderful session called Naming Your Feelings. So this is all very, very important for us, because we tend to just stuff it down and pretend that we're not going through those pains. But it's very important to express those sufferings in the association of people who are trained to guide and to help. So I hope that's helpful. What else? Any other reflections or questions? I guess I should look in the chat. Look in the chat again here. Chat, okay. I've been practicing bhakti for so long, I still have not got faith in the process. I feel guilty that I have not taken bhakti seriously, that I've wasted my years of life. I want to get rid I want to get rid of that. I want to get help, I think is what the person means to say. Please help me. Yeah. So, it's important to associate with people. If you feel like you have a lack of faith, try to get the association of people who have stronger faith than you. And, listen to talks online and associate in person with people who will inspire you. And try to pray to Krishna in an ardent way. Read the books that inspire you. Do service that inspires you. Maybe there's something that you like to do that you haven't really been taking the time to do. Sometimes just going to the temple, believe it or not, just sweeping the temple floor or washing a few pots can be so cleansing to the heart. Yeah, you know, planting a garden at the temple. So many services you can do that inspire you, but each of you is an individual, so you have to see what inspires you. I can throw out 10 things, and maybe you'll say, no, I don't really like that. No, I don't really like that. But maybe there's something you really do like to do and that you would like to do for Krishna, you know? So again, we're all individuals and we have to see what inspires me in Krishna consciousness. We do the things that are required, chanting the required number of rounds, but then there are always individual things that we can do that inspire us. Take on some project that will inspire you, you know? What else? I guess I look in the chat again here. When I go through a reversal, okay, when I go through a reversal in life, it makes me doubt Krishna's intention. How can I understand Krishna's intention in testing times? So maybe maybe Krishna's asking, what is your intention? You know, how serious are you about this? Are you going to go back to your old ways and old bad habits just because Krishna doesn't appear in front of you like a magician after chanting for a few short years? So Krishna is testing us and testing our resolve. How much are we going to do this with a deep intention? So this person is asking, what is Krishna's intention? In one sense, we don't know Krishna's intention. We do know that all the scriptures say that he's longing for us to come back. His intention, he comes in so many different avatars. He comes in so many different shastras. He comes through so many different saintly people who travel all over the world. So his intention is to catch your attention, to catch my attention, and then to say, well, what is your intention? Can you try to ardently cry? Do you like to sing bhajans? Sit down and cry to Krishna. Sing some bhajans and let Krishna know what is your intention. I hope that's helpful. When I go through a reversal in life, it makes me doubt Krishna's intention. How can I understand Krishna's intentions in testing times? Krishna is not a cheap date that you can just pick up on the street. He is the supreme absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead. Achieving him is the highest goal of attainment. So he's not going to make it so cheap. He wants to see how our intention is resolute, you know? Like he says in the Bhagavad Gita, one whose attention is resolute. But for someone whose attention is many branched, distracted all the time, it's very, very difficult. So we have to look and see, where am I getting distracted? What is my intention? Am I trying to chant while I'm doing so-called multitasking, which is not actually ever effective? I'm inviting Krishna into my heart, but then am I distracted doing so many other things, not paying any attention to him? So I think the real question is, like I said earlier, Prabhupada said the only real problem is, how can I accept Krishna? we know that Krishna is compassionate because he comes in so many ways, over and over again, right? So his intention is to get your attention, to get your embrace, to get your sangha back in the spiritual world with him and with all his loving friends. That's his intention. But the real question is, what's my intention? Do I intend to just loiter around in this material world for a few more million lives while time is passing? So the real question is, what is my intention? And how can I attention, intention, pay attention, have a great intention, have a great resolve, and cry to Krishna to make my heart, to melt my stone heart, and let my attention become ardent in love for him. I hope that's helpful. What else? Okay, here's another one in the chat. I am inconsistent in my sadhana. My practice goes well on some days, and then on some days I slow down, maybe due to my anarthas. How can I become consistent in my bhakti? So, yeah, we're all like that actually. One day it's a little bit better, and one day it's a little bit worse, you know. Yeah, so you just go on, you keep showing up. Like, maybe yesterday wasn't so good, and I cry and I try to do a little bit better today, and I ask Krishna for his help. Um, all of us are, this is what it means to be in sadhana bhakti or vaidhi bhakti. One day it's not so good, and one day it's a little better. So we keep trying, keep showing up. Like to have a relationship with a person. Krishna's a person, he's a loving person. He wants to see that we're also offering our love. So, for example, if a mother has a baby, she doesn't just say to the baby, here's 100 rupees, good luck, you know. No, she shows up every day, even on the difficult days. Maybe the child is kicking, throwing a tantrum, but she keeps showing up. And that's what love is in the difficult times. So I think that's what shows Krishna that we're sincere, that we keep showing up to try. That yesterday I had a terrible time chanting my japa, but today I try again. And I have every intention, my dear Lord Krishna, that I will show up again tomorrow, even if it's difficult. And even though actually, one devotee wrote to Prabhupada, he said, I have so many stumbling blocks in my path. And Prabhupada said, almost like in the mood of Lord Nityananda, Prabhupada said, I can kick out all stumbling blocks with one kick of my foot. So, yeah, we should pray like that. If I see so many inconsistencies, so many stumbling blocks, pray to your Guru Maharaj, pray to Prabhupada, pray to Lord Nityananda to just kick out all of those stumbling blocks and to cut the hard knot of false ego that is barricading us to again and again make so many excuses to be inconsistent, to not show up. So, yeah, I think sincerity means to keep showing up, even if I don't feel like it, Maybe today I don't feel like chanting japa, but I do it anyway. And then gradually, the taste will come and it'll become more tasty, more spontaneous, more sweet, when Bhakti Devi agrees to descend on our hearts. Is this helpful? What do you think? Okay, here's another one. Sometimes I have to associate with people who are not on the path of bhakti or with people who take spiritual life casually. How should I deal with such neophyte people without being adversely impacted myself? So there's so many sweet ways that you can share. I don't know if this is in a family situation, in an office situation. There's so many ways that you can share the sweetness of Krishna. If you're working in an office, if you have a desk, you can have some prasadam cookies in a big glass jar on your desk, and everyone in the office knows that you're the one who has those yummy cookies, and they're offered to Krishna. So when people take one of those cookies, they're making advancement. Or maybe it's with your family. Are you pressuring your teenagers to too hard and not giving them enough space to play sometimes. Sometimes parents are very rigid, and sometimes kids need space to do some sports. Or you know, everybody's an individual, so the people in your life that you're associating with, try to see how each one of them how you can help them take those individual baby steps closer to Krishna. Like, yeah, because each one is an individual. I hope that's helpful. Yeah. What do you think? Sometimes I think that was the last question. All right, I think we're out of time also. I don't know if this is helpful, but I hope it was a little bit helpful in helping us give up excuses and become more ardent in our chanting and our devotional service. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Hare Krishna.
On behalf of Bhaktivedanta Academy ISKCON Noida, I thank you, Rukmini Mataji, for giving us your priceless time and association and answering the questions so patiently. I am sure we all will remember this session for this lifetime. Mataji, before we conclude today's energy class, would you like to share your thoughts as a final blessing to our students who are graduating as Bhakti Shastris in the next 2 months?
Yes, wonderful. Many prayers. You've taken it. Whoops, let me close this. You've taken this all very seriously to take this path to do this Bhakti Shastri. So many, many prayers to Srila Prabhupada for you. I'm sure he will bless you. So try to share what you've learned in a broad-minded way. And I pray that Srila Prabhupada will bless you all as you journey closer and closer to Krishna's lotus feet. Hare Krishna.
Once again, let us all thank Her Grace Rukmini Mataji for her time, lessons, and guidance that will be cherished by us all. We are truly fortunate to have you amongst us, Mataji.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much, Mataji. Her Grace Rukmini Mataji ki jai.
Hare
Srila
Bol.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you.
Now we can conclude this meeting. Wishing all you students the very best for your upcoming last Nectar of Devotion exam. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.